I'm ChosenArchitect, and this is Project Architect 2. So jumping back into some more Project Architect 2, today there's a lot more tasks that I really want to get up and running, and I thought jumping back into our Powah setup would probably be one of the coolest things that we can do. And this is going to require us to craft a ton of different blocks from Powah. Now, there is a way to do this very, very quickly, and I already kind of have a setup set up to be able to craft all of those individual components on their own. But I actually want today to set up a way that we can use these and not actually mess with our auto crafting, but to be able to use these setups and to be able to auto craft this by using modular routers. And so we shouldn't really have to mess with our applied energistics system too much over here. I am using it right now to essentially control our pattern provider, but outside of that, we really don't have to mess with too much else. Now, to fully get started here, I have gone ahead and crafted a ton of these nitro rods. And what I've done is I've used my copy paste tool to copy that setup. So if I open this up, unlock the anchor, we can actually see the blocks right here. So what I could do is I could line this up just like so, find a good point, and it looks like I'm going to have to drop this down. So let's clear that configuration, drop that down. And what I want is I want to be right here, that point right here. And so I'm going to have to kind of line this up in just the right way. Like so. I think this needs to go back one more, just like that. And then drop it down until the chains disappear. And that looks right about where it's supposed to be. So I should be able to simply paste this, and it should pull everything that it has available to it. Should be able to pull it out of my storage. So let's go ahead and right click this, and if all is well, there it goes. It should paste all of them, including all of our energizing rods, and it even placed in our flex point. How beautiful is that? Now, what I want to make sure is that this auto connected and is automatically connected. Oh, that is so nice. It did miss a few here, so that is kind of odd that it did miss those. I do have them in storage, so I'm gonna have to go ahead and I guess use my building gadget and instead get all of those placed in by hand. Should be able to do build to me, right click, and notice they get placed in just like this. Perfect. Now for starters, I'm going to be using a lot of the same systems that I've been using up to this point. So a lot of spruce barrels where I'm definitely utilizing those compacting upgrades. And at the moment I have 4 of these areas now copied over and ready to go. And all of them are all linked up. You can see those are connected. Those are linked. The only thing we have to do now is we have to select our main network and make sure these are fully charged. So we'll go ahead and have that selected. And that should all start working just fine. Make sure to give that. And you can see the value going up. So this will continue to increase until it is fully charged. There it goes, all the way up to 1 million and keeps going on and on. These flex cables are actually kind of insane, which is the reason why we are using them, by the way. Because these allow for a really, really nice high-speed transfer rate that you really just can't get with a lot of other cables, including the Powah cables themselves. So this setup is very, very quick for any of these things we're going to be setting up. We just got to make sure that we can send the items to these things fast enough. So that's where modular routers comes into play. Now we should be able to get all of these done. So the Uraninite, the spirited, the blazing, the niotic, and also the energized. We should be able to get all of those done. And we should be able to get them done with kind of minimal effort with modular routers. The ones that's kind of difficult is we need the nitro, and the nitro is going to require a couple of different items, which means we need more than one modular router. And it's also going to require the same amount of blazing blocks for every single one of these. So for the amount of items that you get from this, we are going to also need basically double the amount of blazing here. So blazing is something we definitely want to get up and running as soon as possible, so that way we can utilize those inside of our operations. So for this, let's go ahead and set up how we're going to automate this little setup right here. So we can do this simply by having a modular router here and a modular router on this side, And that's really it. 2 modular routers, and we can automate just about everything other than nitro. So now with the modular routers placed, I should be able to start working on how we're going to connect everything. So this is going to be the barrel that essentially receives our compactors. So it's going to be doing all the compacting for all of these blocks. Now this side is what's going to contain our EMC link. So this is where we're going to define, and each one of these are going to need their own materials for each one. But most of these setups, like I said, are all going to be the same. So I'm kind of showing you the main setup here, and then all of these other ones I'll get set up as well. But the way that this is going to work is we need to pull out of here. So we can do that by using a puller upgrade that is set to up, and we don't have to define anything special here. Just needs to go in, and anything that's in this EMC link, it will pull into the buffer. Now we need to send the item out of that buffer, and we need to send it into our energizing orb, and we can do that from the side. So we just need to be standing here, and I just shift right click, and I'm using a sender MK2, and that should send the item. But here's the trick. Because of the way that we're going to be sending certain items in, we actually have to define how many of those items we want to stay in this inventory. And you can actually do that with modular routers, and it's pretty darn cool. So let's go ahead and start off the easiest one that we can do, which is the Uraninite. So Uraninite, we only can have 1 inside that buffer at any given time. So you can see only 1 can go in, and then it uses 2000 FE to convert it into Uraninite. Perfect. If we send more than that, then it's not going to work. So how do we limit that? Well, to do this, we can actually use a fancy upgrade for modular routers called a regulator augment. And this thing is so nice, and it can be used in tons of different applications. But in this particular case, we just want to place it in and set the value to 1. And what this is going to do, it's going to look at the inventory that it's sending the item to, and it is going to only let 1 item in, or however many you define. If you set it to 64, it would let 64 items in, and so on and so forth. But we want to set it to 1. And so any item that it sends into this buffer, it's only going to let 1 of them in. And because we only have 1 to play with, we don't have to worry about setting any kind of filters or anything like that. So a way to test this is by grabbing, actually, we also want to keep in mind this automatically is going to send our items. So temporarily, I'm going to pull, actually, I'm going to just disable this, this modular router, which is connected here. And we'll set this to redstone mode pulsed. Should be fine. We don't have to worry about that. It won't run if it's unpulsed. So that way I can actually test this. So let's get Uraninite, and I'll grab a stack. And what we'll notice is this should only let 1 in, right? So we put that in there. It just sent 1, and it finished. And that's perfect. That's exactly what we want. And if I pull this back out, it's only going to send 1 again. So whenever we put our speed upgrades in here, this is actually going to go incredibly fast. So now we need to pull the product, and this is honestly the easiest part, is pulling the items back out. I'm going to use a puller MK2 and actually break this modular router here that's on the bottom temporarily. And what I'll do is I'm going to shift right click and make sure this is pulling from the bottom. That's all you kind of have to do, is make sure you're pulling from the bottom, I do believe. And this should set that side. Yep, there we go. And on this, we just put it in here, and whatever's in there is going to get pulled in just like so. And we'll have stack and speed upgrades in here. And then I just need to send, and I can use a sender NK1 if I'm just going to be sending directly up. And so that should be pretty straightforward like so. And that's going to send that Uraninite in here to be compressed. And so this is pretty darn straightforward, right? So if I place this modular router back down, that's back in its place like it needs to be. We just need to place in some upgrades, and this thing is going to be ready to rock and roll. So some stack upgrades should be easy to make. We only need stack upgrades for this puller. So I'm going to put that in there, put the speed upgrades in, speed upgrades over here, and that should be it. So now I just need to define the Uraninite, in this case, on here. And that should start sending, and it will go, like I said, incredibly fast. Once it kind of gets going, it just gets going. And it is going to be sending these in here pretty darn quick. So now for my next party trick, we're actually going to work on this one, energized steel, which I think is going to be the next most complicated. Everything else is going to work exactly the same. We'll just make sure to use block forms. But for this, we are going to need to pull directly from our Applied Energistics system. So I've tapped into my AE network, which is linked down below right there. And this is going to have 2 different blocks in it. And what we're going to do is tell our pullers specifically what we're going to do. So iron blocks, we'll make sure to define here, because this is going to require 1 block of iron and 1 block of gold to make the blocks of energized steel. So gold blocks, and then I'll define that there so I can drag this in. We'll set this to whitelist mode, and this puller is going to be pulling from the right. And so this is going to pull iron. So we'll go ahead and define and set that. And then on this side, we'll take our puller, and this is going to pull from the left and is going to require gold, and set that to whitelist. That should be it. And that's going to pull in. Now, we still need to put our regulators in here. So modular routers, and we're going to be utilizing those regulators again. So both of these are going to take that regulator upgrade, set it to 1, and we should be ready to rock and roll. So there's that one in. And then this one also receives that regulator because we can only put 1 in at a time for this operation. Beautiful. So that's basically it. Everything else is going to be the same. These are just basically connected to the bottom here. And so as soon as we give this the ingredients, being a block here and a block here, it should send those items in. And there's our energized that has gone in here. And all we have to do now is make sure we get our barrel placed in and put our upgrades in. And then that should start compressing. And then we also need our speed upgrades. And that should be ready to roll. So speed upgrade in there, speed upgrade in there, and speed upgrade in there. And beautiful. Now, I think this does produce 2 every time it does the operation, 2 blocks. Yes, so we are also going to need some stack upgrades. So make some of those. And that'll just make the extract even faster. And there we go. That is fast and beautiful. And those iron blocks and gold block conversions are being done through the mega cell. So if you didn't check out last episode, definitely be sure to do, as there is a lot of awesome information about how the Applied Energistics can completely compress and decompress blocks for you instantaneously. Now, there is one other one that does require some Applied Energistics intervention, and that's going to be through the emerald blocks. So we need to send emerald blocks into this, and what I've done is, for this to take place and actually work, those emerald blocks are being stored in a mega cell, a mega compacting cell. So I just set all of that up. I just placed and got it all set up just like all of our other ones. Got all of my emeralds pulled out and compressed down, and then I placed them in. And if we look at emeralds, we can now see all of those recipes, and it's automatically pulling out the blocks of emeralds for this operation and just doing it and keeping it instantly in here without even needing to put a crafting card in here. I don't think it gets any better for your auto crafting than to have that set up. Oh, it's just, I don't know. I'm just lost on that one. It's so good. I mean, the mega cell cards have to be one of the biggest revelations in my modded Minecraft career, if you could call it that. And sorry, did I say revolution? I meant revelation. It's insane. So I've kind of gotten a little bit creative here. I went ahead and added 3 more, and this is actually all we need to be able to do all of these operations in one go. Now, the reason why I have an extra one, you might be wondering, is because for the nitro, we actually need blazing. So I'm actually going to do the blazing on this one and send it to this one, essentially allowing us to have it all operating and also keep our blazing on a separate one. So I'm working on setting up the blazing right now, and the only other change is I've kind of inverted this. I have this on the right side, which is going to be sitting over here. And so I have this sender, and I need to take the pulled out blocks, which are going to be single blocks, and I need to send them to this. So I will go ahead and shift right click here. Now this is going to need, I believe, range upgrades, because I'm almost positive this is going to be out of range, right? Oh, I guess it is not out of range. I guess that's within the 24 blocks. So that's perfect. But we are also still going to need to put a regulator on this and tell it, hey, only keep, I believe, 1 or 2 in here. Let's see, for the nitro, because that really does change, right? Is it 2? So it's just 1. So we just have to make sure we regulate this. Now we are going to also need to regulate 2 redstone going in, which is going to be another little bit of change, but this should be perfectly fine. And so this essentially will farm up those blazes. So as soon as I put blaze in here, a block of blaze, that should go in here. It should operate, and you can see it is now filling this up, which is exactly what we want to see. I don't know why it is pulsing like that. Should not be pulsing. That's all connected. Anyways, this is going to end up sending that over here, which it already has. So beautiful. So now I just kind of get to decorate this a little bit more, just like so. And I now need to start preparing this one. So when working on this, we're going to be supplying nether stars to this. So the same way we've got all the other ones set up, it's just connected in, and I have an interface. We're going to put the nether stars in there, and that's going to regulate and send one nether star. Now we can actually set up the redstone now. So redstone blocks, we just have to make sure that the cinder on this, which is going to go right here, we just need to make sure that the cinder has a regulator in it, and this is set to 2. And so that will make sure to keep 2 of those in stock, which is beautiful. And then we just need a puller in here to pull the redstone blocks, and that should do that already. There we go. You can see it keeps 2 in stock. Of course, we got to get our speed and stack upgrades in there. That'll work a lot faster. And same goes for that, and also for this one. So all we have to do now is add the nether stars and make sure it has 1 to keep in stock. And you can see right there, beautiful. And we definitely need to get some stack upgrades on this to make it faster. And when all is said and done, this is insanity crafting right here. That is keeping up and is crafting those nitro blocks very, very quickly. Oh my goodness. All of this is happening over here. It happens so fast you can't even see the lasers going, but you can definitely see the power usage on this, and definitely the power usage here, using about 15 million. Oh my goodness, that is a lot. Are we able to even see the actual network statistics of how much more power we're using? We're using about 31 million just off of our Flux network setup. Amazing. So now while that's running, we can start working on some of the other tasks that are needed here. And so just a couple that we're needing to work on, right? We need netherite blocks, and this one's going to be a pretty straightforward task that we should be able to handle with a little bit of a setup. And then we need all of these wood types being converted into ×6 compressed blocks, which is another pretty straightforward operation requiring some thermal. And then we also have smelting up the awakened and turning them into awakened draconium blocks. Also another smelting operation, and these just requiring a 6 times. Those all should be very fast, and I think after that, the only thing we have to worry about is making andesite and also making a fallen star. Everything else has EMC. So what I'm thinking is I head back over here. I got a fresh room ready to rock and roll, courtesy of the copy paste gadget. And what I should be able to do is store this room inside of this brand new spatial card, smelting and wood. And as soon as I hit this, that is going to take it, and it now has a new ID of 5 that is going to be stored and ready to pop into existence whenever we want. So let's go ahead and start with the netherite and how I want to automate this, because the more I think about the way that I want to automate it, the more complicated it becomes, but I think I can kind of get this down just in my head to a very simple solution. So I think we're just going to use some rainbow generators, rainbow furnaces, not generators. And we just need 2, I think, 1 for processing netherite scrap and 1 for processing raw gold ore. And I think if we combine these 2 together, we can make a pretty efficient and pretty fast crafter. So let's get a barrel that everything is going to end up going in. It's going to be a sophisticated barrel. And a compactor, because this is a pretty common theme, right? We're doing the compacting upgrades for literally everything. So place this in here, get the upgrades in, and then a pipe, which should allow me to pull from a crafter. And we don't have to do anything crazy. I'm just going to use just a tier 3 crafter for right now. And this gives us some wiggle room for if we want to add to it. But that is going to be combining the 2 netherite, the 2 ingredients for the netherite, and sending it into here. So we're going to have to filter our 2 ingredients, and then we should be good there. And then the craft should output, and then we can just pipe that output directly into the barrel. That's pretty straightforward. But now we also need to send the items into here. So I'm going to place a pipe, because it is faster to pipe out and in to the furnaces. So I'm going to set it up like this. And then we need EMC links, 2 of them, that are going to be 1 being ancient debris, which has to be smelted down, and 1 just being gold ore. So this little setup right here, once we get our upgrades in there and everything, should be incredibly fast. So iron We just need to make a couple of upgrades here and just make sure we have all of these in. I don't know if the blasting actually helps with the ancient debris, but we'll find out. If it doesn't, we can always take it out. But we should be able to put all of these in. Beautiful. There we go. And then creative upgrades. So pipes and then the infinity upgrades. I'm going to use these just to hopefully make it faster. We have to have them for the generators or for the furnaces, but we don't actually need it for here. So I think just 4 of them is going to be more than enough to get us by. So I'll put these here like so. This here, I haven't put the items in, so nothing should kick on just yet. And we should be able to shift right click those in. That's ready. And we should be able to handle the output here with just a regular ultimate pipe upgrade out of the output for our crafter. Now with this, you probably could set up a quarry and also farm this. I do have an RFTools Dimension that's full of netherite blocks, but I still don't think a quarry will be as fast as this operation right here. So I'm going to set up these, and I'm actually going to set 5 of these up. 5 of these individual recipes. I think it will go faster the more of these I have, and I think it does them all simultaneously, and it should be able to hopefully keep up, as I did place 5 of these in, and if my brain works out, we should have 5 slots in here as well. So I guess there's nothing to it but to turn it on. So I'll place this here and here. That should kick off. That is running incredibly fast and is being stored in here. And that is operating and is now filling this incredibly fast. It looks like the scrap, I don't know why the scrap just seems like it's going so much faster. It is holding up, but look at that. That is, it does look like it is doing the simultaneous crafts here, which is exactly what we want to see. And just a blink of the eye, we already are setting at a ×3 compressed block of netherite. So yes, this is very quick and very simple to set up. Now for the next task, I think one of the easiest methods of actually getting these compressed planks is going to be by using a sawmill, and the sawmill specifically from thermal. And I think this is going to be about as fast as we can get these because of those creative upgrades. So we do have enough of those creatives, and these are, by the way, very expensive to make every time. So it is kind of a hassle to make these. So I'm kind of limiting actually what I'm using thermal for in this case, but these are incredibly fast. So I'm going to go ahead and get power on them, because remember, you have to power them up to get the creative power first. And then as soon as you put these in there, they will be working at their max capacity. And then you can go ahead and remove the gates because they won't need that power anymore. They just need a little bit of power in their buffer. And then in the config, we just want auto input and output on, and top and output on the bottom. And that is pretty straightforward. Now, I think I want to upgrade all of these spruce barrels here actually to tier 2, because we're going to need to void something that is produced in this operation. And I can actually upgrade these by just simply clicking a basic to iron upgrade. Now we have 2 slots. Now the thing that I want to void is actually sawdust. So we just need to add that to the void list here. And I'll just add 1 into each of these and get them all voiding sawdust on entry. And now, since I copied the settings here, I can go ahead and use this, right click, and then paste. And all of those settings should be set up and now ready to go. And this should be now all ready to go in general. I just want to go ahead and pin this quest so I can see all of the different planks, and I can start to grab the logs for each of these. So this should be all of them, and I'll go ahead, start placing them in one by one. And voila, all of them are up and running. I've actually never seen these machines. I don't know if I've ever used these machines, to be fair. The little animation of the logs running through the saw blades on them, I don't think I've ever seen that. But these are going incredibly fast. You can see right here, we already have 2 ×3s because these produce 6 planks every operation. And because of that creative, it goes basically does 1 operation per tick. Like, it's incredibly fast. So now after that, next on the list, I want to go ahead and place in a couple of these, and these are going to be working on the Draconic, the Compressed Dragons chapter. So we need Awakened Draconium, and we also need Draconium. And this is a very simple task as well, just requiring you to find a fast way to smelt ingredients, right? So we need to smelt the dust down straight from EMC, and this right here will connect up to 2 more EMC links, just like so. And then we want to make sure we split these connections here, so I'll use my wrench, and shift right click to remove the middle connections. Make sure these are pulling. And there's actually not too much configuration we have to do. It should work just like this. Once all the upgrades are in, it's as simple as clicking the right ingredients on, and these bad boys are ready to fire off, and they are compressing away. So we actually don't need the quad, I don't think, set up for this, simply because we aren't going to the 7 times. That's where things start to get a little bit more expensive. So the 6 times should be easily doable with just one of these, considering it's doing 5 stacks per operation. Now, I've already set this one up, but I wanted to show you what this is. So this is going to be for andesite alloy, because we actually need to automate the create andesite alloy for this. And this is pretty straightforward, just like the other one that I set up. However, the process line goes iron, which then goes into the rainbow furnace for blasting. And then that gets sent into here where I have it filtered. This is andesite. I have andesite filtered in here. And then this is crafting iron nuggets, which is sending to the insert, which sends it into this insert section here. And then I have 3 separate crafts of the same thing that are for the andesite alloy for the extract here. So that should make this pretty darn quick. I think for this though, I don't think I'm going to need like this to be incredibly fast. I'm going to try just ultimate pipe upgrades. These might actually be fast enough on here without actually needing anything else. So I'll make sure to have this set and have an ultimate pipe upgrade. We'll see. I still might have to actually upgrade this. But this one is just going to be iron up here, and this is going to be andesite. So once that happens, this should really start to kick off here. And it looks like it is crafting and using them, and you can see now the andesite alloy building up and starting to compress. And we need up to 6 times on this one as well. Now, there are really only 2 more things or 3 more things left to do. We have the star compression, which is a little bit more complicated. And then we also have the jellies that need to be compressed down. Now, the good part about all of the jellies is you don't actually have to do like crafts, technically. It is yet again another thermal machine utilizing a blast chiller, and both of them have blast chiller recipes, even for making the royal block. So this is just a matter of getting infinite amounts of fluids inside of a blast chiller. Now, I want to do this inside of another area, so I'm gonna go ahead and place in another room. Oh, this is so cool every time this works. We're basically filling in a new room to store in our spatial storage dimension. Very, very nice. And I'm going to have to do something kind of interesting to get our nether stars linked into another dimension. And we might end up sending it via ender chests. I still don't know. I might actually, because I think we can send cross-dimensionally in other ways. I don't know. I may end up just linking that drawer into the dimension. But for right now, I should be able to store this into the jelly and stars. So by doing this, actually, let me go ahead and go in with it. That way, whenever it does send, it'll also send me with it. And then I'll go ahead and pop in here and make sure that that is chunk loaded. So that way in the future, we can send this back. And then I'll just teleport back home with our charge border. Beautiful. And there we go. Now for the automation of those honey blocks, this should be pretty straightforward. So I do need, however, a bucket of royal honey. And royal honey we can actually get by taking 4 of these and combining it with a bucket. And you get these from the queen bee as a drop. There we go. Pretty straightforward right here for making the queen bee happy. And then I should be able to put that into the insert slot. And now we have infinite amounts of royal jelly. That is fantastic at this point. So we just need to set our inputs. So auto input on the top, output on the bottom. And that should hopefully pull the fluids in. Doesn't seem like it's pulling fluids in. But I'll try again. Input, auto output. That pulled the royal jelly in, interestingly enough. And I do have the upgrades. Or is it going so fast? No. Weird that it's not functioning. Now, it turns out that that bucket that I put in there was actually the wrong fluid. It was the create honey, which actually does not work in this particular setup. So what I've done instead is I've placed some honey bottles. So I've grabbed some of those honey bottles right here. Those go in here. Those produce the honey. I had to pipe out of that into this. And I think that I might be able to pipe this into a tank. So if I use this, actually, can I use a dropper on this? So now I have some honey. So beautiful. So that means now I can fill this creative with the honey. So now we have infinite honey that can be pulled into here. Perfect. And I used a centrifugal separator to be able to get that honey, by the way. Put that in here. And that is draining in power, but now it should be now creative. Beautiful. And now it is sending these honey blocks out incredibly fast. Same goes for this one. Oh, these are fantastic. So now for one of the more complicated things, and this required a ton of setup and kind of prep beforehand, but that is for the fallen star, because this recipe compressed all the way up comes from blizz powder, which we're going to need to definitely process up. It needs a nether star for each of these, and cloud blocks, which require cobweb, snowballs, and sea pickles. So all of those need crafting. So what I have set up behind me is the ability for us to make all of those things. So we need snowballs, which we can set there. We need cobwebs. These are our EMC-able things, and sea pickles, all right here. Those need a space inside of the crafter. We also need stars. Now this is going to be its own task in itself to get this to work, but we're going to place stars in here. That should be just fine for right now. And then we're also going to need, like I said, the blitz powder. So the blitz powder comes from the blitz cubes, but we get more of it if we process it like this. And this is also going to produce a snowball. And I think the snowball I'm going to send into a trash can. So I'm going to have a pipe that is also going to be running to a trash can. Or actually, I'm just going to send it back into this EMC link. So I'll just route it right back into this, just like so. And then we'll have to set a pipe on here, and we'll use an ultimate pipe upgrade on this specifically. We'll set that, and then we'll say, hey, only send snowballs. And so that would make sure to get rid of that byproduct that we're going to be sending from here. So I need to configure this. We'll have auto insert. This is going to pull. This is going to output here and output to the bottom, which should automatically send it into the crafter as well. Now to be able to get the nether stars, this is where it's going to be kind of interesting, because I want to use an entangled block that is going to come from cross dimensions. So I'm going to go to my crafter madness area, and I'm going to entangle our container of nether stars that has 2.2 million nether stars in them. But I actually don't need to link it here. So instead, I'm going to go ahead and select this temporarily. I'm going to travel to this dimension. So let's do it from within the dimension itself here. And then I can link it. And now I can go ahead and teleport back home. And this should still work cross-dimensionally from that location. So there it is. And I also want to place a storage bus on here so that when my other crafts can read this, and I can go ahead and set this to a good priority here. That is going to be a little bit higher. And that should be able to read the stars. So now it says we have 2.1 million stars in here. And so this is also going to consume from here, which is going to be pretty epic. So I can go ahead and get this started without putting any upgrades in. This should start crafting. And it's going to be pretty slow, but it should start producing those stars. And I have all of the crafting. I'm making the cloud blocks, and I'm also making the fallen stars. And so all of that should put itself together. This right here is the only thing that's not on. So I need these to be dragged in here. We'll set that to 64. There we go. That should be pulverizing those and producing exactly what we need, which is going to send down into here. Make sure that stays nice and full. Oh, this is perfect. This is working. And so I should be able to place a barrel down here, get that compacting upgrade in, and voila. We are now pulling those into here, and all we have to do is get these pipes upgraded. Now, I think for this, my only limiting factor is going to be these blizz cubes. We're going to annihilate these, but in the next chapter, we're actually going to be building some bigger farms for this because we are going to need them right here. And I already have the farms ready to go for them. I just kind of have to put some range upgrades in them and scale them up, and they are going to work so much better then. And now with that up and running, oh man, we now essentially have everything that is not EMCable, I do believe, now actually automated and running. That way we will make sure and guarantee that we have those exact compressed blocks that we're going to need when we actually complete the entire chapter, which is going to be happening very, very soon, which means we get our first creative bin, which we can kind of do just about anything that we want with it. And we can put just about any creative item that we want in it. So I might actually use it to generate infinite amounts of EMC, or I might save it and use it for something that may seem very, very daunting. We'll have to kind of wait and see. But if you guys did enjoy today's video, be sure to click that subscribe button if you haven't already, and give this video a huge thumbs up. A lot of work goes into these series, so I do appreciate the like. And of course, comment down below. What's been your favorite part, and what do you think about these in-game quests? Do they seem too hard, too easy? Of course, I would love to hear from you down in the comments, because your suggestions do mean a lot to me. And with that, it's now time to thank the amazing supporter of today's episode. And that amazing thanks is going to go out to Weenie. I think I said that right. Or Keeney. Thank you so much for your amazing support, by the way, and choosing to support me over on the Discord by, of course, becoming a Discord premium member and supporting me in one of the best ways possible. Of course, be sure to check out the other links down in the description below. I do stream on Twitch about 3 days a week. I've been playing a lot of Vault Hunters as of recent, and if that's something you're interested to, be sure to follow me over there as well. And guys, I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. And of course, as always, thanks for watching. Bye!